Hi, my name is Sirirat, a Senior Solutions Architect at AWS. Welcome to Part 5 of Microsoft on AWS Optimization video series. We will continue looking at ACME Financial Data Services journey to optimizing their Microsoft workloads in AWS by focusing this video on automated building of virtual machine image for EC2 instances. Here is the story so far. In the last video, we saw how SMB File Shared using Windows File Server were migrated to Amazon FSx, a fully managed Windows file storage on AWS. In this session, we will take a look at the process of building and managing EC2 machine image implemented by ACME Financial Data Services. Here is the current architecture for ACME Financial Data Services, or AFDS. In the previous video series, we introduced AWS License Manager, AWS System Manager for managing Windows Server, optimizing Microsoft SQL Server, and migrating Windows File Server. Please watch the previous video of our Microsoft on AWS Optimization video series to learn more. In this video, we will talk about the challenges around virtual machine image that many customers and AFDS have. AFDS need to ensure that their system comply with Security Technical Implementation Guides or STIGs, which is the standard created by the Defense Information System Agency to secure information system and software. To make the system compliant with the standard, AFDS has a set of scripts that they executed manually when they build virtual machine image. AFDS also need to build different machine images for different applications and for different server roles, such as web server, application server, and database server. When there are new security updates, they need to rebuild the image over and over again, and they have spent so much time building and managing virtual machine images. When AFDS migrated their workload into AWS Cloud, they also took this opportunity to improve their virtual machine image process by adopting EC2 Image Builder. They generate automated EC2 Image Builder pipeline to build the golden image that comply with their InfoSec policy. The output image of this pipeline then is used as the source image of different EC2 Image Builder pipeline for different purposes, such as for web server, application server, and database server. When software updates become available, they can rebuild the image by manually run the pipeline or have it run automatically based on the schedule. They no longer need to spin up an instance from the image, apply the update, then rebuild the image manually. The downstream pipeline, which are the IaaS web server, application server, and database server pipeline, also automatically pick up the latest version output image of the upstream pipeline, in this case the InfoSec golden image pipeline, when the pipeline runs without having to reconfigure it. This is how EC2 Image Builder works. When you build the EC2 Image Builder pipeline, you start with the base OS image. You can select software for installation along with the required sensor file, script, and OS updates. You can apply either your own or AWS provided security settings toward meeting internal and industry-specific compliance criteria. Then you can run your own tests on AWS-provided tests to validate images before deployment. The last step, you can select AWS region and AWS accounts to distribute your images after the test pass. An EC2 Image Builder pipeline is the automation configuration for building secure OS images. The pipeline is associated with an image recipe, infrastructure configuration, distribution settings, and how the pipeline is triggered. The output of the pipeline is the machine image. Image Builder recipe describes the image configuration. Infrastructure configuration describes the environment to build the image, such as instance type, VPC, and logging. Distribution configuration describes where the output image should be distributed to, such as AWS account and AWS regions. Image recipe is a document that defines the source image and the components to be applied to the source image to produce the desired configuration for the output image. The source image is the selected image and OS used in your image recipe. A component defines the sequence of steps required to either configure an instance prior to image creation or to test an instance that was launched from the created image. The component that is used to build the component is called build component. The component that is used to test the created image is called test component. This is what AFDS InfoSec Golden Image recipe looks like. It uses Amazon provided managed image as a source, which is then applied with the stake build Windows and update Windows build component to build the image, and then use reboot Windows test component to test the image. To build the web server, AFDS has a custom script that they have used to configure the server. AFDS turned this script into EC2 Image Builder components and use it in the pipeline. The component defined in the form of a declarative document in YAML format that lists the execution steps. There are 4 sections in the document: phases, steps, supported action, and output file. Phases are a logical grouping of steps. There are 3 types of phases: build, validate, and test. Steps are individual units of work that comprise the workflow of each phase. Supported action is the instruction of how to execute the step, for example, execute PowerShell or S3 download. Steps that define in the build and validate phase are executed sequentially before the image is built. Steps that define in the test phase are executed after the image is built. This is what AFDS IaaS web server image recipe looks like. It uses the golden image, which is the output image of InfoSec pipeline, as a source, then apply it with the custom build component and custom test component that AFDS turned from their custom script. The output is the IaaS web server image that AFDS uses in their web server auto-scaling group. Behind the scene, this is how the pipeline works. When the pipeline runs, the service provisions a new instance based on the source image specified in the recipe, with the instance type specified in the infrastructure configuration. It then downloads the build components and executes them sequentially based on the recipe. After that, it applies the image configuration such as sysprep. Once complete, it creates the image and terminates the instance. That is the build step. Now, for the test step, the service provisions the instance based on this new image. Then, the test components are executed, and if the test passes, it distributes the image to the regions and the accounts specified in the distribution settings. Once complete, the image status changes to available. There is no cost for AFDS to utilize EC2 Image Builder. They do have to pay for the underlying AWS resources used to create, store, and share the images. If you use larger instance type and the component takes longer time to build and test your image, you will pay more. You also pay for the standard storage for storing the image, which is the EBS snapshot storage cost, and the data transfer for sharing AMI. Now, let's take a look at how AFDS accomplished all of this with EC2 Image Builder pipeline in AWS Console. Now you are in AWS Console. EC2 Image Builder is listed under Compute Service. I can go to EC2 Image Builder from there, but if you don't know where it is, you can always type in the search bar and go to EC2 Image Builder from the search result. Now we are in EC2 Image Builder console. Let's explore what we have here. The first one is Image Pipeline. I don't have any pipeline at the moment. Next is the images. I already have one image there. Under Saved Configurations, you can see Components, Image Recipe, Container Recipe, Infrastructure Configuration, and Distribution Settings. Now, let's go back to Image Pipeline. We are going to create InfoSec Golden Image Pipeline from the Pipeline Wizard and have it walk us through each configurations. Now, let's start by click Create Image Pipeline. Now from here, name the pipeline. Let's name it InfoSec Windows Server 2019. For the build schedule, let's select manual for now. For the recipe, we are going to create a new recipe. The output type will be Amazon Machine Image. We are going to name this recipe Windows 2019 for InfoSec. The version would be 1.0.0. For source image, I'm going to choose Manage Image with Windows OS and choose Windows 2019 Full Base Image. For working directory, I'll keep it as the default. For build components, I'm going to choose the stick configuration provided by Amazon. There are three configurations for stick image. So indeed, for today, I'm going to choose the stick build Windows Low. Another build component that I would like to make sure that we have is a Windows Update. So I'm choosing the Update Windows here. Next is a test component. I would like to make sure that our image is bootable. So the test component I'm choosing today is Reboot Windows Test. For the storage, I want to make sure the boot volume is encrypted. So I'm choosing the KMS key here. Now click Next. For infrastructure configuration, I'm going to have a service create one for me. So now click Next. For distribution settings, the same here. I'm going to have the service create one. Click Next. So now we review configuration and create the pipeline. So now we have EC2 Builder Image Pipeline for InfoSec Golden Image. You can take a look at the pipeline itself. You can navigate to Image Recipe, Infrastructure Configuration, and Distribution Settings. And from here, you can run the pipeline manually. Now there you go. The pipeline started and now is in pending status. Now the pipeline completed. Now you can see the image is available under the Amazon Machine Image in EC2 console. Now let's go back to EC2 Image Builder console. This time we are going to convert the existing script into EC2 Image Builder components. We started by create components. This is going to be the build component for Windows Server. We are going to choose Windows Server 2019. We are going to set up the web server. So let's name the component Set Window Web Server. This is going to be the version 1.0.0. I already have script prepared, so I'm going to paste it here. So now let's take a look a little bit what the script look like. We talked about the component document earlier. The component can have three phases: build, validate, and test. And because this is a build component, we start with the build phase. The first step is to make the staging directory. We do that by executing PowerShell. The next step that we do is we are going to make the website directory. The same thing here, we are going to execute the PowerShell script. The next step is we are going to download the payload into the website location. So we use the S3 download action. And the next step is we unzip the payload by executing PowerShell script. Then next we download the PowerShell script to set up the website. This is the existing script that AFDS used to configure the web server. Again, in this step, we execute PowerShell script to unzip the PowerShell script. Now, this is the step that we execute the PowerShell script to set up the web server using execute PowerShell action. Next is the validate phase in the build component document. The only step it has is the validation of the installation of the website. In this step, we also use the execute PowerShell action. Now let's create the component. You can see here now we have a new component called Set Windows Web Server. Now we are ready to create an image builder pipeline for web server. And this time, we are going to create each configuration first. So let's start with image recipe. First, let's name the recipe and the version. Next, select the source image. The source image would be the InfoSec golden image, which is the output of the pipeline that we created earlier. So select Manage Images, Windows, Images owned by me, and choose InfoSec Windows 2019, and use the latest available OS version. This configuration will ensure that this pipeline will always choose the latest version of the InfoSec golden image. Keep the working directory default value. And for build components, we are going to use the component that we created earlier. So here, filter the list by owned by me and choose the component. For the test component, let's choose the one that I created earlier. Same thing here, filter it by owned by me and choose the component. For storage, I'm going to add another EBS volume, and let's have both of them encrypted. Now create the recipe. Now we have the image builder recipe for web server. Next, let's create infrastructure configuration. First, let's name the configuration. Now, for IAM role, I'm going to choose the one that I created earlier. This IAM role needs to have the permission to perform the steps listed in the component. For example, one of the steps is to download the payload from S3. Then this IAM role needs to have permission to the S3 location. For AWS infrastructure, this is infrastructure that the pipeline will use to build and test your image. For instance type, you can specify the instance type to be used to build and test the image. In this case, I'm choosing M5 large instance type. You can also choose VPC, subnet, and security group where you want to build your image. But for now, let's leave everything else at the default value. Now, create infrastructure configuration. The next step is to create a distribution setting. The output image type would be Amazon Machine Image. So now let's name the distribution settings. Next, choose the region. The default region is the one that I'm on right now, which is US East 1. Now name the output AMI. You can keep this AMI private or share it publicly. Or you can share it with different AWS accounts. I can also associate this AMI with License Manager configuration so that the License Manager can track the usage of licensing based on this AMI automatically. You also have option to distribute this AMI to another regions, but for this demo, let's keep it to one region for now. Now let's create the settings. There you go. That's our new distribution settings. Now we have image recipe, infrastructure configuration, and distribution settings for web server image. So let's create the web server pipeline. First, name the pipeline. You have option to have the pipeline run according to the schedule, but for now, let's keep it to manual. Now click Next. For image recipe, we are using the existing recipe that we created earlier, which is the Windows Web Server 2019. For infrastructure configuration, use existing infrastructure configuration that we created earlier. For distribution settings, same here, use existing distribution settings that we created earlier. Now review the configuration and create the pipeline. Now we have two pipelines, the InfoSec pipeline and the web server pipeline, where the InfoSec pipeline feeds into the web server pipeline. Now let's run the Windows Web Server pipeline. And now the pipeline is in the pending status. After a while, now the pipeline completed and the image status is now available. You can take a look at the image detail, and there it is, a new web server image in US East 1. Let's also take a look at this AMI or image in EC2 console. And there you go. This is our new web server image or AMI. From here, you can create an EC2 instance from this image. Let's take a look at these two pipelines. AFDS want to ensure that their images are up to date with the update from Microsoft, which is the second Tuesday of each month. What they did was that they scheduled the InfoSec pipeline to run on the 15th and the web server pipeline on the 20th of each month. Let's reconfigure InfoSec pipeline. Under Build Schedule, choose Schedule Builder. Select to run pipeline on the 15th of every month. And AFDS wants this pipeline to always run based on the schedule. Now save changes. For web server pipeline, let's schedule it on the 20th. But for this pipeline, AFDS only wants it to run on the schedule only if there is a new version of InfoSec pipeline. There might be some cases that InfoSec team decided not to produce a new image for that month, and the application team does not want a new image to be built. Now save changes. Instead of waiting for the InfoSec pipeline to run by schedule, I'm going to run it manually. The pipeline now started, and the output image version 2 shows in the pending status. Let's see how we do now. InfoSec image version 2 now is available. Let's take a look at the web server pipeline. We have already set it up with the schedule, which is shown in the cron expression here. You can see the image recipe detail, and it shows that it uses the recipe version 1. And the source image is the output of the InfoSec pipeline. The version x.x.x represents the latest version. So now let's run this pipeline. Now the pipeline completed, so let's check it out in the EC2 console. And there you go. Those are all of our images built by EC2 Image Builder. With EC2 Image Builder, AFDS is able to build the automated EC2 Image Builder pipelines that build InfoSec Golden Image and IaaS Web Server Image. AFDS can track the window license use associated with the image with AWS License Manager. AFDS no longer need to manually build EC2 image every time there are security updates or when web server configuration changes. AFDS take advantages of EC2 Image Builder with no additional cost other than the cost of underlying AWS resources used to create, store, and share the images. In this video, we demonstrated how to simplify EC2 image building process with EC2 Image Builder. We built an InfoSec approved golden image using AWS provided component. We used the output image of InfoSec golden image pipeline as the source image to build IaaS web server image. We also converted an existing script to an EC2 Image Builder component to be used in the pipeline. Don't miss the next and the last video in the optimization series, Optimizing Your .NET Application for the Cloud. And thank you for watching.